Warning: the following podcast may contain coarse language and is intended for Philadelphia Eagles fans. Fuck the Cowboys.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Birds Locker podcast from the locker room. Post-game following the only way to describe it, disgraceful 35-31 loss to the Arizona Cardinals at home. My initial reaction, it was another tale of two halves. At least score-wise after the first half, we were up 21-6 and you'd take that all day, even though I don't think we were overly impressive as they were still able to move the ball pretty well. Second half was one of the worst defensive displays I've ever seen, mixed with an incapable offense that couldn't stay on the field. True to form over the last 5 weeks, we're bad all round, and the scoreboard really flattered us, honestly. Unlike the numbers from last week, which showed we were far better than the Giants, but the Giants kind of hung with us, we were the ones hanging with the Cardinals. The total yardage, they had more total yards than us, 449 to 275. They beat us in passing yards, 228 to 184. They smashed us in rushing yards, 221 to 91. They nearly doubled us in first downs, 32 to 17. They slaughtered us in time of possession, 39 minutes and 39 seconds to 20 minutes and 21 seconds. Beat us in third down efficiency, 50% to 44%, and both teams were 100% efficient on fourth down, with them going 2 for 2 and us going 1 for 1. I guess the only positive that you could even take out of this game was that we didn't lose the turnover battle this week, we tied it. Yay. I'm not going to go through this game drive by drive because there's a lot to complain about instead. Offensively, only 24 points came from our offense, as 7 of them came from the defense with the pick 6. And simply put, against this kind of team was far too little, and it came back to bite us. I spoke about how they had the worst rush defense in the league, and we were terrible at exploiting it. Firstly, we ran 24 passes to 23 rushing plays, and it was nowhere near enough plays in general because we simply didn't possess the ball enough. And part of that reasoning was we didn't run the ball and we didn't move the chains with the run. Another Brian Johnson masterclass on how to be a shit coordinator. When we did run it, we were average at best as well. 4 yards per carry against the worst team in the league. The passing game was okay at 7.7 yards per play, but really, they just couldn't get it done when they needed to. Jalen was 18 of 23 for 78% completion, 167 passing yards, 3 pass touchdowns with an interception, but it was a heave and hope play at the end. I mean, it was good to see Julio Jones make a couple of nice plays, 2 TDs, but this receiving group is now bordering on just plain bad. All that talent for such little production is just not acceptable. There's not a lot to take out of this offensively. It's a massive backwards step, even though I didn't think there was much more room to go backwards. But apparently there is. Now, defensively. Defensively, I thought the first half was very deceptive, as they only scored 6 points, but they really moved it at will. The pick 6 was a big play, and I really thought it would potentially be able to swing that momentum and make it a bit of a game changer, but the second half showed that we were just masking it. It was a total disaster in the second half. They scored 4 straight touchdowns. 4 drives, 4 touchdowns. It just doesn't get much worse than that. At some point, you've got to make a play. I mean, the offense could have helped. They could have sustained drives for longer and allowed our defense some time to just like catch their breath and go through things a bit more. But the third down efficiency was a big reason here. It was back to shit. Back to 50% after 28.5% last week. And they went 2 for 2 on 4th down. So this defense just didn't get it done in any capacity. 228 yards passing at 80%. 7.1 yards per attempt. It's not huge yardage, but we let them complete them when they needed to, and it really came back to bite us, especially their 4th down passing touchdown, which tied the game and essentially really kept them in the game and gave them that opportunity to win at the end. But really, they decimated us with the run. Going at 221 rushing yards at 5.5 yards per carry. It was just a disaster. The linebackers played bad. The D-line played bad. It was all around. But not only that from the D-line, they only got 1 sack for the game. No pressure on Kyler. No getting in the backfield. It was just a nightmare. And with really the only 2 big plays on defense, with the sack and the pick 6, both came from rookie players. And I think that says a lot about how our senior players really aren't stepping up. We only produced 1 turnover. Again, it's not enough because we're giving up a lot of big plays. Now, if you're only getting 1 turnover a game, but you're forcing teams into punting situations, that works. But we're giving up big plays, big yardage, big points, and we're not getting the ball back, and it's just killing us. We're allowing bad football teams to score big numbers on us. They didn't punt the ball at all in this game. They had a pick 6, so that kind of might have changed things, but and the interception, I mean, it was great, but you can't win when you think you've had 1 interception and they haven't punted the ball and the rest of the plays they've scored on. They moved it at will on this defense. It was embarrassing. We couldn't stop the pass when we needed to. We couldn't stop the run at all. Honestly, this is a complete defensive failure. I was completely wrong about this game. I thought that, given what we had on the line, I thought this would be a walk in the park almost for us. My mistake for thinking we'd care more and deliver more than this pile of garbage. The fact that we didn't have the answers for a 3-win team is a disgrace and shows that as much as we have earned, and we've earned and deserve the right to be in the playoffs for how many games we've won. But barring some drastic turnaround, this team's living on borrowed time. They'll be one and done, or at best they might get to the divisional round, but they're not going deep at this point. Tough to find a player for the player of the week, but I'll give it to Julio Jones. 2 receptions, 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. On a day where everything seemed bad, especially receiving-wise, he was able to make 2 key plays, and it's nice to see a player that I've really respected over the years turn back the clock a little bit and really have an impact in the game. Alright, let's have a look at the division standings. Now, the NFC East, today's game proves very detrimental to us. We've now dropped the division lead to the Cowboys, who moved back to first in the NFC East at 11-5 with the tiebreaker. We're obviously second with 11-5. We have secured our spot in the playoffs, and I don't believe we can move from fifth seed. The Giants are at 5-11, and Washington sit at 4-12. In the rest of the NFC, in the North, Detroit is level at 11-5 with Philly and Dallas, but they no longer have the tiebreaker, so likely they will get the number 3 seed. Still an interesting division, as the Vikings and Packers are still in the hunt and playing one another later tonight. The Bears have secured the number 1 draft pick via the Panthers this week too, showing that trade has been a masterclass for them. In the South, Tampa is currently tied with the Saints at 8-8. But with the tiebreaker, despite losing to them. What's interesting is that as it currently stands, we would play the winner of this division. The Falcons are just about done needing a miracle, and the Panthers confirmed will be the NFL's worst team this season. They would have had the number 1 draft pick, but as mentioned earlier, they had traded it. In the West, San Fran, with the Eagles and Lions losses, have secured the number 1 seed. and will get the week off. The Rams have also punched their ticket today, while the Seahawks may have thrown theirs away with their loss to Pittsburgh. And we all know how the Cardinals went. Over in the AFC, in the East, Miami are still the number 2 seed despite the big loss to Baltimore, but it creates a big game next week against the Bills, which they will need to win to secure that number 2 seed. The Bills are almost guaranteed playoff bound from here, while the Jets and Patriots have continued to struggle. In the North, Baltimore have now secured the number 1 seed and the first round bye, while the Browns are also playoff bound and probably in the most competitive division in the league. The Bengals and Steelers are still hanging around. They're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs just yet. In the South, it's a revolving 3-way tie in the South. It is ridiculous. The Jacksonville still leads Indianapolis and Houston in the tiebreaker at 9-7. Despite them all being tied, the Jags are still in the hot seat as they play the lowly Titans in Week 18, while Indy and Houston square off. Assume Jacksonville gets it done, but this division's been a roller coaster, so honestly, who knows at this point. In the West, the Chiefs secured the division. The Broncos have been mathematically, not quite mathematically, but just about mathematically eliminated. The Raiders have been eliminated and they join a very underwhelming Chargers. Alright, now time for fly up, fly down. It's going to be hard to find positives, but we will try. Fly up. Julio Jones. He was my player of the week. 2 catches, 34 yards, 2 TDs. It's nice to see a player who has been injured and is in his twilight years still able to contribute and contribute in a big way. Fly down, Hassan Reddick. He's had a great year, but he had a shocker today. He only had the 1 tackle, and they started to target his side of the line, including on James Conner's deciding touchdown run. Not his best day, and I'm sure he will bring better, but this is one that he would like to forget. Fly up, Jalen Carter. Another sack for the baby Rhino, and when nobody else could get there. Putting together a very good rookie season, and there's a lot to build on with him, and I'm really excited to see what his progression will be like in the future. Fly down. As much as I praise Jalen Carter, the defensive line as a whole, 2 sacks in 2 weeks is putrid and completely unacceptable with this caliber of talent on the defensive line and against teams that have given up sacks and in bunches. Not good enough. Fly up. Sydney Brown got himself a 99-yard pick 6 and is another rookie that's really impressing and putting together a great first up campaign. I think there's a lot to build on with him and Reed Blankenship for the future. Fly down. Nick Sirianni. The excuses have run out. The buck stops with him now, and these performances from the players, coaches, sideline, and everything in between have been honestly unprofessional. The seat's getting a little warmer each week, and I'm sure he wants that to cool down, but until we see otherwise, it's going to keep going in that direction. Alright, now for the best part of the week, the rant of the week. My subject this week, Brian fucking Johnson. This guy is a glorified quarterback coach who isn't a coordinator's asshole. His scheming and play calling is at a high school level. Take that second last drive, for example. We get the benefit of starting at the Arizona 39 after an onside kick attempt. We get to 1st and 10 after an 18-yard A.J. Brown catch on 2nd and 9. So first down at the Arizona 20. Sure, a holding penalty makes it 1st and 20. So after that penalty, you run a quarterback draw. You need to get 20 yards and you run a quarterback draw. Sure, it's been a semi-successful play for us, but what do we get? 4 yards. 2nd and 16. Surely a pass at this point, right? No, Brian Johnson is the smartest person in the room. Let's run a read option for a 3-yard loss. So now we've run 2 plays, which have also taken time off the clock, and in essentially, we've only gained 1 yard after being at 1st and 20. 3rd and 19. Surely we air it out for the first down, right? or at least try to get most of it back, right? Nah, let's throw a screen pass for the 100th time this year because it hasn't worked all season, but surely it'll work now, right? So, I wish this was a once-off, but this isn't even close to a one-off. It's happened all season long. This guy is so bad at scheming and play calling, he's horrible. If this team is short on talent, you could at least use that as an excuse, but this team is fucking loaded at every spot. Look at these players, they're fucking miserable in this offense. If he wasn't a family friend of Jalen Hurts, he wouldn't be a coordinator anywhere. Nowhere else in the league would have this guy as a coordinator. There are some bad teams in the NFL and some bad coordinators. Make no mistake, Brian Johnson is the worst of them. The best run he could ever call would be to run the fuck out of town. Alright, that's it for episode 6. I hope you enjoyed it much more than that garbage game today. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on all platforms. Happy to listen to any feedback. Let's get a very somber break. Go Birds on 3. 1, 2, 3, go Birds!